Monday, October 16th. Okay, so today was really weird. I'll start off with the most obvious thing, that being Rodrick has been missing since the start of summer. Though, to be honest, I thought he was just sleeping in the basement. But that's something I can look past. What I can't look past is what happened to me after I was walking home from school. There was a weird looking guy in the alleyway. He looked to be in a rough shape, so I tried to approach him. This hobo just bit me! I was about to slap the shit out of that guy, but when I looked up, he was gone. He had just vanished into thin air. What made it even stranger was that he left a no bite mark on me. So now I can't tell if I'm losing my mind or if there's someone putting chemicals in our cafeteria food. After I got home, I just decided to sleep it off. But mom forced me to do my homework because she didn't believe my hobo incident.
You shouldn't make up stories about less fortunate people.
Less fortunate? If you're talking about fortunate, talk about the niggas who avoid getting bitten by homeless people. Tuesday, October 17th. Coming into class today, I was expecting the same old shenanigans. Albert spreading misinformation, Patty Farrell being a teacher's pet, me and Rowley goofing off. But boy, was I wrong. It was the beginning of math class, and we were in Miss Krabappel's class, when randomly my nose started bleeding. Now I've had nosebleeds before, but this one was the weirdest one I've ever had, mostly because I wasn't actually jerking off the hentai this time. No, but it was weird because my blood was all like little marbles. I started to panic and got up out of my seat and grabbed the tissue. After I cleaned up, Mrs. Krabappel told me I was breaking her class rules and that I had to stand outside. Obviously I was upset over this because it wasn't even my fault my nose bled in the first place. But she told me that rules were rules and that I still had to go outside. While I was out, the bell rang. I tried to walk back inside to get my bag, but she told me to stop and wait. Now I was really mad, so I asked her what her problem was, and she said this.
Do you know how long I've been waiting for this?
I know I didn't have to read it like that, but it's kind of funny. Waiting for what? My math teacher had just turned into a fucking demon. I started to bolt down the hallway along with a bunch of other kids, but nothing seemed to slow her down. Even the hall monitors weren't strong enough. Excuse me, do you have a hallway pass? You can't pass me if you don't. I looked behind me for a split second, and it looked like she had grown in size. Luckily, because of her rampage, the ceiling collapsed right on top of her. Hopefully that was enough to kill her because I really don't want to. Okay, listen kid, I'm only going to do this once now. Don't go dying on me. What the heck just happened? Was that the hobo who bit me? Why was I suddenly holding a sword? Those were all the thoughts swirling in my head when I awoke inside the janitor's closet. But more importantly was the giant demon outside the closet. I don't know why or how my body built up the strength to fight that monster. I didn't know what was happening. When did I get this strong? What did the hobo do to me? Man, I started to feel like an anime protagonist. Nothing could stop. My head was ringing. It felt like my body wanted to just fall apart, start to pass out, but something happened that made me stay conscious. Is that Rodrick? Just when he was about to fight Miss Krabappel, I blacked out. Friday, October 19th. I woke up several days later. The first thing I saw was Rodrick standing above me. He was sitting right beside my bed. I had a lot of questions, but one came to mind. Where have you been for the last 3 months? Okay, I'll explain. To make it brief, it all started at the beginning of May. I was driving home from a concert when all of a sudden something crawled on my radio. Turns out to be a demon. I panicked and crashed into the river below. Next thing I know, these armed men surrounded me and almost killed me. But thanks to my new powers, I escaped. Tried to lay low with my friends for a few days, but they found me. Shot all my friends and were about to finish me off. That was until he showed up and saved us. His name was Dynamo. That's all I can tell you for now. After that long story, it felt like he had been leaving info out. When I tried to ask, he said he couldn't tell me yet because I needed to be trustworthy. He said to rest up and explore the base and that my first test would be tonight. Exploring the base, I saw a lot of Rodrick's bandmates. There were many others I didn't recognize. I was pretty hungry after being asleep for 3 days, so I asked what food they had. To my surprise, they said they didn't have any at the moment because Bind had forgotten to resupply on the way home from a mission. Then I asked who Bind was, and they said she was the girl with the black hair. At first I didn't recognize her, but then it came to me. That was Trista! I asked why she was here and she said, "Same as you, dummy." Which I guess makes sense, seeing how everyone here has some kind of power. Speaking of which, I asked her what hers was and she showed me. Pretty cool. She said her demon ability was that she could summon chain objects. Depending on what the object was made of, its durability is varied. Rodrick came back a few hours later and said it was time to go. While we were walking, I asked him where we were going. He said that we were going to a local motel to kill a demon. By the time we arrived, it was already 11 p.m. He said that the demon was supposedly in room 13. I asked Rodrick what I should say when I got there. He said that the demon would probably recognize my demonic scent, so trying to lie to it was useless. So with all the confidence I had, I walked up there and I opened the door. Room service? Well shit, that didn't go to plan, plus that really hurt. I asked Rodrick what to do now, and all he said was to use my powers and kill it, so that didn't really help. When I looked back behind my cover, he had grown in size as well. Fresh meat. It was too late to bat down now, because if I didn't do anything this time, I was going to be slapped again. So with my blood, I created the first thing that came to mind. And just as I placed it, I ducked behind a wall, and that guy was blown sky high. I thought that would be enough to kill him, but I was wrong. All I did was make him more angry. I started to run to make distance, but I quickly realized that it was no use, so I had to stand my ground. I tried making a giant hammer, but when I tried to make it, there was a sharp pain in my head. Ugh, you're gonna pass out if you use too much blood. There it was again, the hobo's voices talking in the back of my mind. He was trying to warn me about my limits. I had to find a new solution on how to kill this guy, because I didn't have enough of my own blood. Wait a minute, what if I use his blood instead? Hey, it's working! I quickly shaped his blood into the hammer. I was expecting it to weigh a lot, but it was actually lighter than I expected. But I was still getting tired from all the swinging. A couple swings later, I managed to smash his hand with my hammer. When I tried to go for his head, however, he had regrown his hand. I thought I was the only one capable of regeneration, but I guess not. Since he was so strong, I couldn't get out of his grasp. He then opened his mouth and said he was going to eat me. I tried to break out, but it was no use. But just then, this loud bang rung. I had completely forgotten about Rodrick. That must have been him. Thinking fast, I used the remaining blood from his blown off hands to make a giant sword. With all my strength, I cleaved right through him. There was blood everywhere. Now that the fight was over, I asked Rodrick what we were going to do with the body, and he said that we were going to sell it. It was then I realized we can make money off killing demons. Why didn't he tell me that earlier? I then excitedly asked him how much we were going to sell it. He said that there were two ways to do it. First, the hard one. We sell it on the black market for hundreds of thousands of dollars, but at the cost of being caught by undercover police officers. Or the easy solution, report it to the police and claim a finder's fee. Now at first I thought he was joking and that the police wouldn't have told the public about demons. Rodrick says that the government covers it up. which kinda makes sense. He even says that they have an entire department dedicated to demonic extermination. Make sure this ain't aired. When we finally got to the police station, Rodrick started to talk to the secretary. He started to explain how he and his brothers were walking down the street when all of a sudden they saw a giant monster thing run right into the road before dying right in front of them. As he rambled on and started giving his bank information, I started to get bored, so I hopped on my phone and started to play games. However, I must have drawn attention to myself as this random guy approached me. Hey, you're Prestige 20 in that game? I'm not even Prestige 5. Normally I would just mind my own business, but something about this guy struck me as odd. Maybe it was his friendliness, or maybe it was his outfit. Like, who wears a full military jacket? This guy didn't even look that much older than Rodrick, who's only 19. He started talking more about the game until he started asking me why we were here. I can't tell him the truth because he might call the demon exterminators, and frankly I don't want to die. So I told him exactly what Rodrick said. And after that, we came here to collect the finder's fee. You know what's funny? What? Tell me, how did you know you would get paid for finding this monster? Who the fuck is this guy? I think he might be onto us. I looked over to Rodrick, and as soon as he turned around, he started to get really nervous. As soon as he was done, he told me to get up and leave. I asked Rodrick why he was so nervous, and what he said shook me. Apparently, I was talking to an actual demon exterminator. He said I had to be more careful who I'm talking to, as next time we might not get away so easily. Arriving home, Mom was overjoyed that I was okay, as I had been missing for 3 days. But, lucky for me, we had already come up with a fake story beforehand. That I was trapped in the cafeteria for 3 days, although it was a little strange she didn't ask where Rodrick had been for 3 months. I was stuck for 3 days, but I'm okay now. We had some dinner, and I played Twisted Wizard all night. Before I went to bed, Rodrick said to rest up tomorrow and bring my journal to write everything down. So, just like that, the most confusing week of dying, getting resurrected, and killing someone finally came to an end. Tell me, who were those two? Those were the Heffleys, sir. The Heffleys. Make sure to keep an eye on them.